Welcome to TradeTheMBI.com. This is John. This report is for 16th. Well, yeah, don't even look at my face. What a disaster. 10 years riding a Vespa. At the end of the day, you rely on people to perform certain tasks when they're on the road. We were going straight at 50, kilometers an hour, and they just decide to brake for air. And not just brake, I mean full on stop. And there's just nothing you can do at that stage because there was no reason to do it. And of course, then they ran off. But so one of those intentional kind of things. Who knows what is going on in people's minds? But here we have the market doing exactly what was expected. Here we filled back in positive extreme, beautiful, and moved right back up. No shock. Nothing surprising with any of that. It did soften up the readings from a DOC standpoint, but certainly didn't change a whole lot from an MBI reading. I mean, you can see brief, short movement and then gone. It was instantaneous, so didn't really affect much. NQ looking identical, maybe a little bit softer than the S&P, which is already back up at the 100% range. But needless to say, still more than enough to provide the strength of everything. I'll have to show you my cast. Ugh, it weighs a ton. Yeah, snap my wrist right into. What a shock. Treasuries giving back a little bit of the increase, but while improved, it's still outside. Needs to get back towards that 90 range, but of course they think, well, the Fed's, they're going to be reasonable. They're not going to do too much. It's like, okay, yeah, you wait and see. As long as oil doesn't pop over 80, yeah, maybe that's a justifiable thing. So for now, all right, it's reasonable. But, if oil continues to move and it's at that critical spot, and this becomes a question of, is production matching what is being used versus is there any slowdown? And the reality is, things are sort of in a continuation function. At this particular stage, we haven't seen any major signs of, huge slowdown. Yes, there have been pockets of this and that, but in general, things have just been chugging along. From a euro standpoint, of course, they'll do what they can to pop it at this particular stage, but it's going to be under pressure as oil moves. So I think that's simple enough explanation. Yes, there's a lot more to it, but in general, that's going to suffice for now, barring any, political developments in the Eurozone area or the situation with Ukraine. From a gold standpoint, way behind where it should start actually moving towards. There's a lot of interesting things that go on with gold. And of course, obviously we've talked about what the paper derivative market does to it. But from a supply standpoint, in the real metal world, getting much harder to come by. And speaking of harder to come by, your BTC, as we've talked about, now that they worked out all of that excess selling from the FTC, there wasn't anything left. And to me, that was just a green light, boom, boom, boom. And that's been the move, 10K right there. So that's pretty nice for a short range. And there really isn't going to be anything stopping the crypto with unlimited cash printing in the Western world. And it's not just the US. I mean, you can look at it from all economies. So I think that becomes pretty clear as to exactly. And this is something that no one ever talks about. They always talk about the debasement of the dollar, but it's like, okay, well, but if it's relative to the debasement within all the other currencies, they think they can get away with it. And this has been the strategy all along. If you devalue everyone equally, then what have you got? Everyone is just a little poorer. They just don't realize it, but the government has spent all these monies acquiring resources, theoretically. From a 50K standpoint, once the breakup of the 50%, was enough to keep pushing it and plateaued a little bit, but made the new highs. Question is, we'll be able to take out the previous high over here at the 65 range? Yeah, 66 exactly. So pretty close. And looking at it from an intraday standpoint, 5-minute chart here. Started off weakness and then it was just boom. Rally. And, once you had that fill in, there wasn't really much more selling to do, and it's off to the races. Post market here, also just fine, Rosie. So it's all good, other than me. Just Don't look. Yeah, what are you going to do? It happens. Anyway, have a good one. Trade well. We'll talk again later.